This week here on our free segment on YouTube, join us as we talk about Made in America and revisiting Steve Jobs' manufacturing insights. Plus, we'll be taking a look at potentially a new recession indicator. Could frozen pizza be on the menu along with a recession? For now, sit back, relax, and join us as we take you through the numbers. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Lyndsay.
How are you?
Great. How about you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. For this week, we're taking a step back because we have been just responding to what I deem noise. I don't mean it like that. It's very impactful, right? Clearly, there are trends to unpack. But we wanted to look a little bit higher level this week. So that's what these headlines do. It's actually nothing new. It's pretty old.
Yeah, exactly. We're kind of taking a reflection back.
Yeah.
At least with this first article.
Right.
You know, try to keep it timeless, especially when we record early. If something happens, we'll hit those articles and those headlines.
We'll be back. We'll be back next week to unpack it.
Exactly. But let's start with this first headline. So 14 years ago, wow, it does not seem that long ago. 14 years ago, Steve Jobs explained why iPhones can't be made in America, and it's worth revisiting today. So as the headline suggests, Steve Jobs remains relevant today. The former CEO once explained to a hopeful president why bringing back American manufacturing was so hard. And obviously it was within reference to questions asked about whether or not the iPhone would ever be manufactured here in the United States.
Right. And this was back in 2011. Wow. So it was President Obama asking those questions.
Right.
Real throwback.
So fast forward to today, the U.S. is once again focusing on reshoring manufacturing, but have the underlying challenges Job mentioned been addressed? So a really fun article kind of digging back through the last cycle. It's not like it's a cycle of onshoring, but, you know, if we're using these two beacons of time.
Right. Yes. And it's amazing to me what hasn't changed in that 14-year period because we can still have, as I was reading this article, it's still a very, very relevant conversation to key pinch points that we face in some cases to an even greater degree today.
Right. So let's start off by talking about one of the things that Jobs talked about is the scale and the flexibility factor.
Yes.
So Jobs had pointed out that overseas factories could mobilize thousands of workers overnight to meet sudden production changes in demand, a level of responsiveness that's just really hard to get here in the United States.
Right. This was a fascinating example. I didn't know of this case, but really, as we think about why could manufacturing jobs not come back to the U.S., everyone just says, oh, it's for cost reasons, right? Labor costs less overseas. That's true, but it's also not the same labor output that you're getting for that cost. And here we are 15 years later, the cost differential has narrowed a bit. So again, we talk about China's like emerging middle class, right? Wages have increased there. Right. So the cost differential is narrower, but what are you getting for that price? There's a really cool example in this article about how there was some last minute change to the screen design on the iPhone. And this production company, this facility in China, they went to their dormitories where all the workers were sleeping, woke up 8,000 of them.
Whoa.
And they were working within 30 minutes. We could not do that in the United States, right?
Everybody would be like, see you later.
Exactly.
I don't need a job that bad. This next one might just happen to be in your freezer. So this next headline that we're going to be going through today is, as budgets tighten, frozen pizza becomes a telltale sign of economic strain. Americans are skipping the delivery apps and firing up their own ovens instead. Recent reports highlight a surge in frozen pizza sales, reaching nearly $7 billion in 2024, up from $5.6 billion in 2019. So We love a good...
We love a recession indicator, unconventional.
Unconventional, that's the word I was looking for.
It's funny, when I sent this article, and credit, it was my team that found this. Someone, commented, put it on our team chat, and they wrote, "New recession indicator just dropped." And I thought that was the best way. It seems like we're always looking for something to say. Is this a recession? Right. What's the consumer doing? So frozen pizza's our new one. We've done the sausage article, the piggies, as you called it. We've done a bunch of others.
We have.
But I don't know, maybe this is the one.
Right. So, well, let's start with the basics.
All right.
Why might something like frozen pizza be the next big recession indicator?
Is this it? Yeah. So frozen pizza falls into this category. If we look at, consumer staples, this is called a comfort essential. So that's things like canned soup, like boxed mac and cheese. It's not the priciest, right? But you feel good. It's that comfort food. You're good to eat it. And in the case of pizza specifically, this can replace either delivery or going out to eat, right? You keep it in the freezer. It's a little bit more budget friendly.
Definitely.
But it still kind of scratches that itch.
Oh, for sure. I buy two, one for my partner and I, and one for the kids, like every week.
Okay, we don't do frozen pizzas, so you're the expert here.
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, what does this tell us about consumer sentiment and consumer behavior, which is my favorite topic?
It really is.
I love consumer behavior.
So I think frozen pizza, even more than the other categories we've looked at, it's a little broader, right? We did press on nails a little while ago, but that's very specific. You're replacing like a salon visit, like that level of, call it luxury, with a more utilitarian option. Frozen pizza specifically, and maybe you can opine here, but this has a range. You have the real budget options, the like cheap cardboard.
Right, they're the ones that are like your high school pizza. They're a rectangle.
Okay.
And they come in and there's like 10 pizzas in a box.
Exactly. But my point being, we have kind of the budget to the premium. Maybe I'm replacing my, local like Pizza Hut Little Caesars type visit with the frozen pizza. Or maybe I'm replacing my real fancy go out to eat the pizza with the balsamic glaze and the arugula on it.
Now I'm hungry.
I know, it's too close to lunchtime for this discussion.
I know.
Either way, you can kind of scale down from either luxury to premium or from kind of everyday comfort down to real budget.
Yeah.
This is hitting a wider swath of the consumer segment.
Yeah, for sure. Is there any history to data like this? Did you take a look to see if there was anything we like a long-term business cycle theory?
Exactly.
That's how we forecast. So I'm curious.
I do take slight issue, and I think this headline might have been just a little bit to catch attention, which it did.
Fair, it did.
Because you quoted frozen pizza sales $7 billion in 2024. That's up from $5.6 billion in 2019.
Right.
But the biggest jump of that was during the pandemic.
When you couldn't
go out to eat pizza.
Right.
You had to turn to all grocery store options, frozen pizza being one of them.
Valid.
So 2019, we spent, cumulatively we in the United States, not you and I, Lyndsay, $5.6 billion on frozen pizza in 2019. In 2020, that rose to $6.6 billion. So the jump in the past 4 years to $7 billion. We made the most of that jump during COVID.
Okay.
And then maybe we liked what we found and just didn't go back to the restaurant.
So what does it mean, Lauren?
So what does it mean? So I had this theory. I sat down and I said, all right, Lyndsay, what if we compile all that? Let's make an index, right? For all of these oddball things. What if we could take we'll call it the by the numbers recession indicator. We'll take frozen pizza sales. We will take sausage sales, press on nails. We did an article on luxury handbags. So we could take that as kind of a counter indicator. We did one on the tooth fairy. The tooth fairy paying out less. That's supposed to say we're in an indicator. Just a couple weeks ago, we were on Mother's Day. We looked at what do people spend on mom. Is that a recession indicator? Let's bundle all these up, make a fun by the numbers index for being in a recession. Take a breath, because we at ITR Economics...
You did it?
We did not.
Oh.
We have something just slightly more academically rigorous.
Oh, of course. You had to take the fun out of it.
We took the fun right out of things. That's what an economist does. And we have the ITR retail sales leading indicator. So this is not based on sausage and press-on nails and frozen pizza. It's based on other leading indicators that have, get this, a proven track record of forecasting just consumer activity. So this orange line, and this is from our trends report, which is available on our website. You can find that option there.
This is updated monthly.
And this is updated every single month. You'll see the new compilation of that orange line, that leading indicator, which in this case, it looks like it ends out in 2026 because we physically shifted that orange line forward by 12 months.
Okay.
It turns out the pandemic bounce back was a little bit of an exception just because activity turned on so quickly that the typical lead times got compressed.
Okay.
But otherwise, you can see those previous peaks and troughs. This gives us a year of visibility.
Wow.
Into what consumers will do. So this orange line, it does end out in the future. That's hard data, but we've just done the timing adjustment. It's showing that our consumer right now still has legs. We are not seeing the bottom fall out. So to go try some frozen pizza now.
Well, let's go get lunch.
Perfect.
And that's all the time we have for today, folks. Thank you for hanging in there with us as we take you through the numbers. But until next time, bye, Lauren.
Bye, Lyndsay.